We live in an incredible time where so many of us can have almost anything we want, anytime, anywhere. But still, how often have you suffered from things like unhappiness, stress, anxiety, or depression? Like way too many of us have. I mean, I still remember the first time that it happened to me. It is 3 a.m. in the morning, and I'm lying in bed, crying. And I feel more and more anxious as I think to myself, I cannot do this anymore. I cannot survive this soul-crushing routine at this perfectly good yet meaningless job just to pay for this lifestyle that I thought would make me happy, but clearly doesn't. Have you ever felt that way? I mean, how can it be that so many of us buy into this lifestyle that makes us work so hard at jobs we don't always love, in organizations we don't always believe in, putting our well-being at risk that way? But that's not it. What about the impact that this lifestyle is having on our planet? Did you know that we humans are just 0.01% of all the life out there on Earth? And yet somehow we have managed to destroy 83% of all wild mammals and 50% of all plants. Aren't we overachievers? Yeah. And I get it. You might be thinking to yourself, why should I care about the planet? Shouldn't I take care of myself first? And you would be right, in a way at least. Because only when you are well can you then wish others or the planet well. Only then can you care about things other than yourself and care enough to do something about it, to change your behavior and maybe lower that ecological footprint. So you should take care of yourself. The only question is, who is that self that you are trying to take care of? Is it your true self or is it your ego? Because this 3-letter word is at the center of our well-being crisis, and with ours, our planet's. But what is the ego? Well, let's bring it to life and make it simple with a metaphor. Imagine that someone knocks on your door and hands you this envelope. Would you leave it unopened? Of course not. You would open it. Because what's important is not the envelope. What's important is what's inside. The envelope is just a cover, a wrapping, a veil that protects and conceals the true essence that lies within, waiting to be unveiled. And just as in this metaphor, there are also two sides of us. There is our true self, who we really are, the letter, and there is our ego, the cover, the envelope. And you can think of the ego as the combination of all the stories that we tell ourselves about who and what we are. But we told ourselves those stories for so long that at some point we started believing them to be true. We believe that we are the envelope. The ego gives us this sense of self, an identity separated from each other and from the rest of the world. But this can make us selfish and self-centered, blind and insensitive to the consequences that our actions and decisions have on the world around us. And then, on the other side, we have who we really are. And since the beginning of civilizations, philosophies and religions from all around the world have been telling us that we are spiritual beings having a human experience, and not the other way around. Now, of course, we could debate whether this is true or not, but one thing is for sure. You are not your ego. You have an ego, just like you have a body, a phone, or shoes. You see, you're not your name, you're not your nationality or religion, you're not your profession, your career. All of those things are just the stories of the ego that make up that envelope. And in order to get to the letter, you need to know that you're not the envelope. And that is the purest definition of personal development, and what I consider to be the solution to our well-being crisis, and with ours, the planet. But how would you define personal development? Because most people think that it is personal growth or personal improvement. But what if I told you that it's the exact opposite of that? Why I say that? Because the word person comes from the Latin word persona, which means literally the mask of an actor. A fictional character, a role we adopt. And the word development is the opposite of enveloping. It means unwrapping, unveiling, making the true essence of something visible. And so, personal development is unveiling who you really are by taking off the mask that is your ego. And so while personal growth is about becoming a better version of yourself, personal development is about finally becoming yourself. It is about not allowing your ego to rule your life anymore in ways that are self-centered and unsustainable. But don't get me wrong, the ego is not bad. In fact, all it wants is to help you survive and thrive in life. The problem is that unless your parents did a pristine job at raising you, without fear, without trauma, which, let's be honest, almost never happens, then your ego developed these limiting beliefs, or stories, if you will, that give your ego tremendous power and that makes it want to stay in control of your life. And from all the beliefs, from all the stories, the three most important ones may well be the belief that you don't have enough, the belief that you're not loved enough, and the belief that you are not good enough. These three beliefs keep you focused on yourself, always wanting to have more, to be more loved, and to be more. Even though you may have those things already. They are the reason why the grass always seems greener on the other side, even though it's never like that. It's just that the ego is colorblind. So how could you loosen the grip that your ego has on you and step finally into your human potential for personal well-being and positive impact? How could you open the envelope and get to the letter? Well, you do that by overcoming these three stories of the ego. Let me share with you how I did it and the impact that it can have on your life, should you choose to do it too. Starting by the first one, the belief that you don't have enough. Now, when I was in my 20s, all I really cared about was building my professional career. Well, that and dating, of course, but let's leave that for another talk. I mean, I was focused, I was determined, and working more hours than I probably should have. But because of that, by the time I got to 30s, I was making more money than I ever thought I would. But most importantly, more money than I really needed. But it was never enough. No matter how much money I would earn or what I would spend it on, any happiness I would first feel quickly fade away, leaving me empty of meaning. But with all the extra stress that came with a higher responsibility. It was exhausting and quite depressing, to be honest. But that taught me two things. The first one is that shopping therapy does not work as they say it does. Yeah, I mean, you can buy all the clothes you want and still you can feel lost and empty. But the second thing it taught me is that the ego can be convinced that you don't have enough. Not enough money, things, time. And so you could put your well-being at risk by always chasing this fleeting sense of happiness. Always striving to live your most beautiful life instead of realizing how beautiful your life already is. And so, how can you overcome this? Well, you can do that by, first of all, never allowing anyone to tell you how much you should earn or have, or what enough money means, but redefining these things in a way that resonate with the true, authentic you, in a way that empowers your well-being, instead of taking it away from you. Second, never confuse what you need with what you want, because needs, we only have a few, but wants, they are infinite. And the ego is an expert at making any want feel like a need. And third, realize how much you already have, how incredibly blessed you are, how many people would give anything to have what you have today. As Seneca once said, it is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more. That is poor. And when you do this, you may find yourself needing less money to feel happy and content. but also experiencing more well-being and peace of mind. But this can also manifest as a benefit to the world because you may find yourself consuming less things, which means lower carbon emissions and lower ecological footprint. Wouldn't that be something? Which takes me to the second story of the ego, the belief that you are not loved enough. Now, imagine, you're sitting on the grass on university campus, having a nice chat with your friends. And suddenly, this guy that you never met before comes walking right towards you with a bit more enthusiasm that you can handle on a Monday morning. Says, "Hi, how are you?" Completely hijacking the conversation, just so that you notice him and like him. So you choose to forget the whole thing, and you go to a class next day. You're sitting there, and the professor asks a question, and you think to yourself, I got this one. So right before you open your mouth to answer, bam, this guy again, answering the question before anyone else can, even if the answer is wrong. Yeah, that guy. You see, the ego can be convinced that you're not loved enough or worthy of love. And so you can spend so much of your precious life and energy in trying to be seen, liked, loved, and included. The risk? Becoming something or someone that you're not, just to get that love that you don't know how to give yourself. So how can you overcome this? You can do that by never allowing anyone to tell you what worthy of love means, but redefining this in a way that is loving to yourself and that empowers your well-being. Second, realize that no matter how much you try, you simply cannot be liked and loved by everyone. It is impossible. Then third, realize how much love you already have in your life and that you only really need some love, not all the love. And as a bonus, love yourself. For when you love yourself, then you are always loved. But I already feel it and hear it. You may ask yourself, how do I do that? Well, ask yourself this question. How do you love the people that you love? Do unto you what you do unto them, and you'll be on the right track. As Rupi Kaur once said, how you love yourself is how you teach others to love you. And as you do these things, you may find yourself attracting people into your life that love you for who you are. People that are out there, waiting for the real you to come out. Then you will start experiencing and feeling all the love that is out there, but that your ego keeps taking for granted, neglecting, filtering out. Like the love of your family, your friends, the love of that cute puppy from your neighbors that keeps waving its tail every time you pass by. And what about the unconditional love from nature that gives us water, food, sunlight, and even the chance to live on this planet, despite how bad we're treated? And so, as you feel more and more love in your life, then that love can start overflowing. So do not be surprised if you find yourself caring more and more about others and about the planet. Wouldn't that be something? And this leads us to the third and last story of the ego, the belief that you are not good enough. And if my ego's neediness back then in college wasn't enough to push you away, to make you want to stay away from me, try adding perfectionism and arrogance to the mix. Do you want to be my friend now? I mean, if you would have called me arrogant, my ego would have said, it's just confidence. If you would have called me a perfectionist, my ego would say, just detail orientation. The ego can be convinced that you're not good enough. And that can manifest in things like perfectionism, arrogance, but also micromanagement, the inability to delegate, high demandingness, dominant behavior, and even narcissism. All of which can affect your professional career. Unless, of course, you're thinking of a career in politics, in which case you'll be fine. You'll fit right in. Now, but in all seriousness, this can have you craving for the praise of your colleagues, the recognition of your leaders, the admiration of people you may or may not know on social media. All of which can make you act in crazy ways that put your well-being at risk, maybe even push you into a burnout, but at the very least, push people away from your life. Take it from me. So the other thing that it can have you do is to not allow yourself to expose yourself to opportunities, to growth, to learning, just to avoid failure, but making yourself smaller than you really are in the process. So how could you overcome this? You do that by never allowing anyone to tell you what being good enough means, but redefining it in your own way that works for you and for your well-being. Second, choose to believe that your value has nothing to do with what you do or how you look, but more to do with how you treat others and the impact that you have on the world around you. And third, realize how good and valuable you already are with your own unique set of combinations of qualities, talents, passions, virtues, interests that nobody, and I mean nobody, has in the right combination as you do. As someone wise once said, you were born to be real, not to be perfect. And as you do these things, you may find yourself not caring anymore about becoming the best version of yourself, but instead finally allowing yourself to be, well, you. And this can be great for your well-being, since you would be changing fear and anxiety for freedom and joy. But also because you would stop trying so hard to become something you're not, just so that others tell you what you now know, that you're good, intrinsically good. And so, let's wrap it up, shall we? Because personal development is so much more than personal growth. Personal development is unveiling who you really are by taking off the mask that is your ego. Personal development is what allows you to finally see and appreciate how much you already have, how loved you already are, and how intrinsically good you are. And I am convinced that this is the fastest way to stepping into your human potential for well-being and for positive impact. Because remember, it is only when you are well that you can wish others or the planet well. Only then can you care enough about things other than yourself. Care enough to do something about it, to change your behavior, to lower that ecological footprint. And so, we can finally, together, become the species that the world needs and deserves. Not humans doing, striving, buying, growing, but human beings. We can stop hoping for change, and we can start being the change. And we can stop being part of the problem, and we can start being the solution. So, here I am, the real me, inviting you all to join me in this revolution of well-being and love. Love for ourselves, each other, and our planet. The only question remains, will you open the envelope and develop yourself?